Welcome to How to Fine-Tune Your Research Question, Streamlining the Research Process. The purpose of this slideshow is to help you move from a provisional, broad-scoped research question to a more precise or fine-tuned question that will help you move more quickly and efficiently through the research process. Let's get started. The first step is to choose a topic that interests you. This is important because if you choose a topic that you're not really interested in, the entire process of the project will likely be a drudgery. So let's say that you're interested in virtual reality technology and teaching. After thinking for a while, you may come up with a big broad question like this. Does the use of virtual reality technology in place of hands-on activities negatively impact student learning and/or comprehension? Once you have a good question to start with, it is a good idea to try and limit the scope of the question as much as you can. Although you're limiting the scope, ironically, this will likely lead to a research question that is longer and more detailed than the original one. So looking at the research question, what words or phrases beg for more detail? How about virtual reality technology? Hands-on activities? Negatively impact? Students' learning comprehension? A fine-tuned research question is detailed in describing its target. So define your terms, that is, those elements of the initial research question that may be too big or broad in scope, those that beg for more detail. The first phrase to fine-tune is virtual reality technology. This phrase begs questions like, are there particular kinds of virtual technology? Is there one kind that you can focus on rather than dealing with all kinds? Different kinds of virtual reality technology such as immersive first person, augmented reality, through the window virtual reality, the mirror world, etc. If it's possible, choose one or maybe even two to focus on in your research. The next phrase to define is hands-on activities. What kind of hands-on activities? Does virtual reality technology or VRT not involve hands-on activities? Can VRT be used along with hands-on activities? These questions raise the issue of whether or not VRT necessarily excludes hands-on activities or not. Thus, this aspect of the original research question may be something worth leaving out. What about the phrase negatively impact? You may want to ask yourself, what kinds of negative impacts does the question imagine? Is it more or less likely that VRT only has negative impacts on learning? You may consider evaluating or weighing the pros and cons of VRT in your research rather than focusing only on pros or only on cons. Thus, a question like, what are the advantages and disadvantages of using VRT in a classroom setting? This might be an angle to consider in your final question. Finally, what do you mean by student learning or student comprehension? Limit this by asking yourself, what kind of students? Elementary, middle school, high school? Consider focusing on one kind or group of students. What about learning? Can you limit the scope to a particular subject like reading comprehension or history or even mathematics? After defining your terms, try and restate a more detailed question. For example, and using a different initial question, does the use of printed textbooks impact student learning? That's a pretty broad question. A fine-tuned question might sound like this. Does the use of electronic textbooks in high school biology classrooms increase student learning appreciably over the use of bound printed textbooks? So, after fine-tuning the research question, you can use a database to more efficiently and precisely find peer-reviewed materials that actually address your research question. Remember the question? Does the use of electronic textbooks in high school biology classrooms increase student learning appreciably over the use of bound printed textbooks? Terms that you can use in a database keyword or subject search include electronic textbooks, high school, biology, and student learning. All right, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me, Jack Daniels, at the Proctor Library. Good luck with your research.